What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Multiverse in Marvel Spider-Man 2 yet again. This time, not talking about any rumors, although we already have kind of had a few different waves of rumors or speculation that the Multiverse could be a part of Marvel Spider-Man 2. I want to just talk about my personal opinion here. I will get some controversial thoughts thrown out and see what you guys think. I do want to make it very clear, though, as I open up this video, I'm not saying that if Insomniac were to do this, it would be a disaster. I actually said this over on Twitter. If there's anybody that can do it and that I would feel totally confident with, it is them. So this is a personal preference that I don't want the multiverses in Spider-Man 2, but that doesn't mean if they announce it, if it happens, then I'm going to say, oh, it's screwed, like they're done for it, because I do think Insomniac can do it well. Obviously, the technology, the rift apart kind of stuff, and there's some speculation that maybe there'll be that kind of thing in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, does that mean the multiverse? Does that mean just extremely quick swapping of Miles and Peter? Does that mean maybe enemies with portals that can maybe hit you against something and you get flown out to a different part of the city? There's ways you can do, say, rift apart technology, right, Ratchet and Clank, without doing a multiverse. So I'm going to start with, honestly, my primary reasoning, and it's to keep Insomniac separate from everything else. I don't know, and this could be controversial right off the jump, I don't know what's said to them, right? I don't know how much Sony is kind of in their ear. I'd like to believe it's not at all. And I mean, we have heard how PlayStation, handles their teams, and they are extremely hands-off. But I'd like to throw in a little curveball and say, okay, well, I do believe that's true. I think that would be true with this game. But when you have Sony involved and you have Spider-Man, so now you're going with movies and you could be looking at trends or whatever, I don't know. I wonder what is said. So again, to kind of kickstart it, just to kind of keep Insomniac separate from everything else that's going on, I would believe right now, unless told explicitly, otherwise, that if the multiverse was in Marvel Spider-Man 2, I'd assume that's not Insomniac's decision. Now, that can be wrong. That can absolutely be wrong. But I just get the idea that it would be hopping on a trend. That's like the first thing, whether it's Insomniac's idea or somebody else, Sony executive, whatever, whoever's idea it would be, I envision it as, okay, we see the multiverse, and either you're hopping on it because like everything in Marvel is doing it, and maybe you see opportunity or money or whatever, or maybe even a more like specific example would be to fit it in. So we've talked about even, this Spider-Man game and then Across the Spider-Verse, right? Clearly there's something going on. I honestly am starting to believe more and more like the game was waiting for the movie to do certain things. We see web wings on Spider-Man and a poster for Miles. It's just maybe they've been waiting for the movie to do certain things before the game announces it. So again, like that's maybe a hint, maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I would just get the sense that, yeah, if you're going to do the multiverse, I would assume you have somebody kind of whispering in your ear and saying, well, look, we're trying to match the movies. They're doing it. And again, whether it's for profit or not, they're doing it, and we need to keep this all in one. Like Marvel needs to be one succinct thing. The Sony part of Marvel needs to be it too. And I've had that mentality for a long time. I've talked about how I really don't even want Insomniac to be just a Marvel game company, which honestly, it's becoming more and more, right? They're multiplayer games, Marvel, you have Wolverine. Who knows if this game spins off and you could do like a Venom spin-off game, right? So like, again, their talent is almost unmatched, and I think they're an incredibly, incredibly good studio, and a studio Sony's, lucky to have bought back in the day for so cheap, right? But I don't want them to be forced into doing things, right? If they want to be a Marvel team, whatever. But I mean, Resistance, Ratchet and Clank, I got my personal faves from them as well. So that would be the lead. The secondary reason, I guess, would be if there is, so like a perceived fatigue of the multiverse. Now I will say, right, you can look at the movies and you could form your own opinions. You could say, well, it's superhero fatigue, or maybe the quality is just not all that great, right? And there's back and forth, and I don't really want to get too deep into that. But I don't think this multiverse arc is going as well as they think it is. And I don't think it's all their fault either. I think it's kind of like everybody's doing it at the same time. So even, Marvel, DC, but even just other movies in general have dabbled with the idea of like, alternate universes. We hear it so often. And I do feel bad for Marvel because they're not even like at their peak where like, these are like Avengers level things and all that. They're not even there yet. And I do think people are a little sick and tired of the multiverse. Now, again, that's a perception. That's how I see it. But I see it on social media. I see it online. I really think there's those two different camps when it comes to the multiverse in Marvel Spider-Man 2. There's one group saying, okay, well, we have that everywhere else. And I think there's a little bit of that baked into my primary argument, right? Just the idea that, okay, it is everywhere. Well, honestly, maybe that's why they think they need to do it if it's, in the game. But on the negative side or the criticism side, you could say, all right, well, we're kind of tired of seeing it be done everywhere. Can't the game not, not do it? I guess even going back to the first argument, the idea of keeping it separate, I'd also like to throw in, and again, this is just like a perception in my soul. I feel like Insomniac Spider-Man is not there yet. Like, I think that maybe is the biggest thing. And I've seen that argument time and time again with a lot of people online where, you can do it. I'm not saying, you can never do it. Spider-Man 5 comes out, they do the multiverse, and people, boycott the game. I think eventually they will. But the idea that you need to do it in the second game, when also the first trailer didn't show anything. Now, it's only like a 50-second, there's not too much you can read into it, but there is no hint, I think, whatsoever to show that the multiverse is a huge part of the game. Again, we've heard rumors about it since then, but it was never really illustrated in that. The first game never really set up the idea. Yeah, they're building a universe with like Miles and Wolverine, right? So like they're going to start expanding, I guess, but I just don't think you're literally there yet. And I think that further fuels my idea of like, let Insomniac do literally whatever they want. And I would just assume, based off the talent and based off the decision making that we've seen of that team, if you were to go down the multiverse path, it's like, well, why is that the path you would choose? I feel like you would do other things, like let them be creative in their own way. Don't force them to do, again, the fad, what's cool or what's being pushed from the executives of Marvel and Sony. Don't have them, have to listen to them, have them do their own thing. That's the biggest thing to me, is I just don't see it as like the next natural progression of this version of Spider-Man in this game. I just don't see it. So if it is there, I'm going to, again, they could say it's not true. And I would hope that if this thing is announced and if there's any form of multiverse in it, that one of the first things that you hear, I'd pray for this, that they would say, this is our choice. This is what we want to do. We didn't get told by anybody to do it. We picked this. I don't know if I'd believe it, but I definitely think I need to hear that if it does happen. So there's my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.